Hello, and welcome to the Crafters Northwest channel. I'm always glad to have you here. Welcome in. If you are new here, I am Michelle, your crafting consultant. You can find all of the products that I use today linked in the description below or on my website at www.craftersnorthwest.com. I'd also appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done that yet and you enjoy your time with me today, click that box and subscribe. If you ring the bell, you'll get notified every time I go live or put up a video. Thank you so much, and I hope you find inspiration in today's video. Hello. Today's video is my first as an official design team member with the Inspriation Collaboration Design Team. We will have a topic every month on the 10th, which means you'll have videos every month on the 10th with a different topic each month. And we'll also have a mystery envelope on the 25th. I have mine right here, and I haven't even opened it yet, but you'll see that video later this month. Today, we are using some of our favorite products from the new book, and we are going to be adding some heat embossing to our layout. So let's go ahead and put this together, shall we? So before we start in on all of this, let me do a super quick recap of the stuff that I will be using for this layout, or at least some of it. So these are the stamp sets that I will be using: Celebrate Together, Weekend Adventure, Elements of Text, and Stripes and Dots. Okay, I will be using a variety of inks. We'll go over those as we go. And then I'm actually also going to bring in the Pop-Up Pals card kit. And we're going to integrate that, and I think it's going to be super cute and super fun. So I just wanted to show you how you could use something in a different way with your layouts. So let's go ahead and get started with our embossing, because that's going to take the longest. So let's go ahead and pull in our papers, our Stamp and Pierce mat, our Versamark ink, our embossing buddy, and our powders. I do have white in the red lid container and black and gold in these smaller containers. We are going to bring in some scrap paper to catch our powder, and then also some reverse tweezers. Now we need our stamping tool. I am using an older one. My Stampin' Up! One is at the office, and that's not where I'm recording this. So we are going to bring in a second scratch paper to catch our powder, and then we are going to stamp our image with the Versamark ink and pour our embossing powder over our piece. Now, if you have any spots that remain that are not part of the stamp that you don't want, you need to make sure to knock those off with a brush or the end of your tweezers or brush or something, and because if it's there when it gets heated, it's going to stay there. So we're going to put our powder back in and then heat our sentiment. I do pull in this wooden cutting board to help give strength to my paper so it bends less. Now we are going to stamp with the flour. Of course, we have to powder first, and we won't need the other end of this, so we don't need to worry about the whole thing not being covered. Now I do like these little containers for the colors that I use more often, because then I can just dip my pieces in and get them covered and tap them off and not have to bring in that scrap paper. And we're just going to heat these up as well. And those reverse tweezers help hold onto the paper and not burn my fingers. So we are again with our powder, and we're going to remove the Stamp and Pierce mat because this is a cling stamp, and it already has foam under it. So I'm not great at getting this lined up, but that's okay because we have a way to kind of hide that. All right, so now we are going to add that gold powder to these stripes. And as you can see, the coverage is not fantastic. And I do have that one gap there that I got because I didn't line it up very well. And so I just grabbed an embossing pen. I haven't used this one in a very long time, if ever. I didn't realize it was actually blue. And that blue actually stayed. So I don't know that I'm going to use that one again. But here we are. We're going to heat this up. And I did realize when I was doing this that if I clean off my stamp after every stamp, it will help make it look less grungy, as it won't have that embossing powder stuck to the stamp itself. I just love watching the embossing powder melt, don't you? This piece, we only need it on two sides. We don't need to worry about lining anything up in the middle. So that's a plus for us. Clean that off real quick. Make sure we have powder, of course, and off we go. And you can see once I clean that off, that side does get a much better coverage with the embossing powder. Much better. All right, get that put away, and let's heat this baby up. Just love watching that magic. Now we do have this little heart to stamp as well. So I am bringing in that photo with the mat so I know where to place this a little bit better. And we do need a few hearts on the background paper itself. So almost forgot that embossing buddy, but remembered last second. Wipe off any of that extra because, like I said, that will stick and stay on your paper if you don't. And these powders last a good long while. If you make sure that your heat tool is warm, very warm, before you start using it, you'll have less warping on your papers and cardstocks. So do try to warm that up before you start using it. All right, now it is stamping time. And we're going to take this flower bunch, and you can't really see it, but I do have a couple of marks on my paper that I put there before so that I would know where to stamp this little bunch stamp set or stamp. I even had to put this little marker on here so that I could see it because my pencil blended in too well with the background paper. All right, so now we are going to do some splatter with these stamps. So we have two different splatter stamps, and I am bringing in some Pool Party ink, some gray granite, and some basic gray. And those flower bunches were stamped in Memento black ink. Here I couldn't quite decide what I wanted, and so I inked up both and used a scratch paper and decided what I was going to do. And I did some first generation stamping in the gray granite and first and second generation in the basic gray. Now we have this little strip that doesn't quite fit the width. It's smaller, but that's okay because we're going to use this anyway. Now we need to bring in our dino card and we're going to trim it down to 4 inches, and we're doing that before we stamp so that we can make sure that our stamping goes where we actually want it to go. So I'm going to bring back in that splatter stamp and add some to the inside of this card. And doing that just kind of brings the whole layout into this hidden part and connects it just a little bit more. Now we are going to take those flowers that we embossed with the white powder and we are just rubbing some cherry cobbler ink on top. And then we are going to take off the ink that is sitting on top of the embossing powder with a napkin. And now we're going to cut all these pieces into banners. And most of them have 2 pieces, so I'm cutting them both at the same time. Now this little piece has only just one, and these banners are different lengths, but the width is the same. And these pieces we are going to tear. Now, a little secret, I don't end up using them because I forgot about them, but I show you where they would go. I'm going to shorten up our sentiment just a little bit on the right side, and I'm going to leave the left side so that we can do our little trick with that a little bit later. So we are going to add our glue onto the back of our DSP, and I'm still struggling with this glue, but you'll see here in a second, I think I finally get it. Look at that, so smooth and easy, almost. All right, remove all that powder that's kind of strayed and make sure these pieces line up. We are going to add our embossed stripe strips onto our paper. And again, trying to make sure they line up. Now, I do notice here that some of that over embossed, and so I wanted to trim that off because it wasn't as pretty as I wanted it to be. So I just attached that on one side, and as you see, I flip the papers to be in the wrong spots so I can line that up again and then put them right back where they're supposed to be. So here I am adding the white ribbon to it. It's kind of a seam binding ribbon. It's really nice. I like it. It's a cotton muslin almost. So this is petal pink braided ribbon. I have added some tear and tape to the back. And if you are confident, feel free to take that whole thing off and just lay everything down. I'm not going to. I am going to place it. I'm going to peel up a little bit and press, peel and press, peel and press all the way across. And then I am going to wrap that ribbon to the back. Now you could trim it if you wanted. I like how it looks when you wrap it around the backside. So here I put this down and I end up having it a little bit lower than I wanted it. And so I have to actually peel it all back up, which was a lot easier than I thought. The downside is when I put it down, I made one side a little bit too short. So I cut the other side instead of tearing everything off. and added some tape to the back side. Now I am going to add a little bit of that Tombow glue over the ends of the short one and put some washi tape over the back of it to make sure that it stays. And then I'm going to add a little bit more tape just to make sure nothing's messy. All right, now we are going to place our banners. I'll dry this a little bit better. I wish I did have the Stampin' Up! One because it does have a lower temp feature, and so you can dry the ink without remelting your embossing. Now here I'm kind of seeing how I like it and realizing that how I like it covers up our heart, and so we don't want to do that. So we're going to change the order of things and figure out what we like and move things incorrectly a couple different times. We're going to washi them together until we can get them stuck together on the backside, and then add our glue and tape them down. And we're going to trim that piece just to make things a little bit less awkward. So this is going to be the placement of these photos, and I'm bringing that in so that we can put everything where we would like it to be, making sure those unstamped spots are hidden underneath. Here I'm trying to struggle with some washi because I didn't want to let go. We are going to pop up some of this. However, we do want to glue these two banners down flat before we do that. And then we are going to add a little bit of glue to the smaller banner, and then we can add our dimensionals to the back side of the one we're going to pop up over the ribbon. Okay, so we're almost finished with this side, so we're just going to go ahead and finish it real quick. We're going to add these photos on here, and I had already placed those dimensionals on the back before to try and save time, and I didn't take into account the ribbon. So I'm just taking off the ones in the center, laying them directly on the layout directly above the ribbon, and then I am going to pop everything off, realize that these two are now covering our actual photo spots. So we're going to move those as well and lay this down. And I just realized that I didn't put the thread on here. So I just cut through that bottom layer of dimensionals so they're all still there. And here I am going to add in some of that cording, and I'm just going to use a glue dot to add that to the page. And then I'm going to use another glue dot and just a smidge of ribbon to balance out the placement of that ribbon on the page. So here we are straightening our thread first, and then we're just going to wrap it around 3 times and tie it in a bow. And trim off those ends, and that's good. Now if you want, you can add some Tombow or some glue dots to the dimensionals, and that will glue everything down, but it should have more than enough to keep it there. Okay, so for this photo mat, we have 3 smaller mats on it, plus we have our card. So let's put together our card first on how we want it and put it and get it ready. Now I do actually put these on the opposite way of what I wanted to, which I do remedy later, but I just wanted to say that here. So I have put tear and tape on the spots that will connect the top and bottom jaw, and I am taking the backing off and keeping them securely placed in our flip flaps. because they might move when the scrapbook's being looked at. So I forgot to put this piece on before we put it in. So that is what I'm doing. And we put it on just like you would if it was a card. So this is the horn, and in the instructions, it tells you to attach it to one side. And if you do that, the horn is always leaning to one side, and I wanted it in the center. So we snipped it in half. We are adding a glue dot to the back side of the opposite flaps. And then we are going to press those down so that that sticks out. We are going to add tear and tape to the horns and the tabs on the lower jaw. So the horns on the skull and the tabs on the jaw. And then we are going to attach these. So give it a quick burnish, it helps everything pull off easier. And we are going to release the tabs. It might be easier to do just one at this point. And it attaches right there. It's pretty clear where that attaches. And so it's nice and easy to get it laid down. So we're doing the same with the horns and then releasing that paper, closing everything up, and then closing the card on top. And then everything just pops open. Hooray! Okay, so we have a pink, pretty in pink, or pastel pink rather, matte and a white matte, but we want to have this little handle first. So we're taking a little bit more of that white ribbon and some tear and tape, and we are going to add our ribbon to that, and we're taping this under where the photo mat is going to be. Okay, so we are going to add the pink one to the front, and we're just adding glue to both of them first. And before we add the white one, we are going to attach our flip flap to our page. And here is where I'm realizing that I did it backwards. And so I know that some of these are having problems with staying and sticking to the plastic. Stampin' Up! Does know this. They are working on it. But I was able to just pull off the strip, and I just attached it to the back side of the photo mat, right? And then I can just add this on there. So it worked out perfectly. Now on the other side, I pulled that off as well, and I'm just flipping it over to the reverse side. Now, me burnishing it gives it a lot of hold. So you could lay down the flip flap onto the page first and then place your mat, or you can actually do what we're going to do here and add some more tear and tape to the other side. We're going to peel that. We're going to add the photo mat to it, and then we have this little mini book. And then we're going to take some Seal Plus, or you could use more tear and tape, and put it on the back side of that. And then we're going to attach that to our page. Before we lay this down is where I should have put those red square pieces that we tore. But I forgot. This is me realizing that I forgot. So they're supposed to go under there. They're not going to now because it's glued down really well, and I don't want to mess with that. So I'm just marking where I want to score this and run that through the trimmer with the score blade. And this is me realizing that we didn't put the cording under here either. This little bow goes on top, and these are supposed to go underneath. It doesn't pull up very well. However, the spatula on the tool is so handy, and it made that easy work. So just going to snip a dimensional and put that on the corner, so that will hold in that bow no problem at all. So here I'm doing the same thing, tucking this under the opposite corner and adding a partial dimensional. Now I could just stick this on here with a glue dot, but I'm going to add 3 wraps around, and I'm going to tie it in a knot, and I'm going to slip this bow underneath it so the knot of the bow is hiding underneath the strings. I have a few problems with it, but I get it figured out. And then I decide that I don't like the knot on the front, so I'm putting it underneath and then sneaking that glue dot underneath the knot. We're going to add our glue, and then we are just going to slip this underneath our photo placeholder, and it's just being held down with a little bit of washi tape to keep it flat. These are the matte dots, and we are using black, and these larger ones work perfectly in these flowers. And we're just going to spread a few more around here and there. So that, my friends, is my take on this month's challenge. So, something that we love from the new book, which would be the Pet Pals card kit, and embossing, which we have the gold, we have the cherry cobbler and the white, we have the black, and the gold hearts. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you like this, and make sure to check out the other ladies' layouts as well. I am sure that you will love them just as much as I do. So, I will see you on the 25th with the mystery challenge. See you next time.